Welcome back to Real Estate Simplified. David, I think there's a pretty scary statistic out there that 4 out of 5 real estate agents that start in the business don't see their second or third year. It's the odds are not in their favor. And I think a lot of it has to do with, as Erwin mentioned, real estate agents can be commoditized because they lack the skill set to deliver value and to actually create an offer that makes sense for people. So how can agents actually stand out from the crowd or rise above the crowd, as one real estate brand?
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
You know what? It's a great question. I think what happens is that a lot of times people get into this business. Look, most people get into real estate for two things. One is freedom. The second is flexibility. They then get into the business, they get licensed, and there is nothing that's run as a business. So they don't realize that they're the CEO of their own business. They don't realize that there's a ton of things that they need to manage, that they're wearing, a dozen to 24 different hats every single day, between, being the prospector, to the closer, to the chauffeur, to the psychologist sometimes between a couple, to the event planner, to the follow-up person, to the bookkeeper. Like, we could go through the list of topics. Oftentimes there's zero thought about any of that. And if we do go back to some of the courses that are taught, a lot of that stuff is not taught. So we're not prepped for the fact that we need to come in and run our own business. We think to ourselves, when I get a license, I'll be able to sell houses and get a big commission check. So now you look and say, well, what can somebody do to actually survive that first few years in real estate and really find their groove? And I'm going to go right back to what we said a moment ago, right? Build up your database. Don't get caught in the bright, shiny object, chasing those squirrels all the time for what guys like me get to say on stages of, like, you've got to do this or this or that. You'll get a big crowd of people who go, well, he said I got to do it, and if everybody else is doing it, I'm just going to go do it, and that's what people do. But there's no rhyme or reason why most people do it, right? So now it's coming back and saying, okay, so how am I going to run this like a business? Well, let's come back to who are the people you're talking to and trying to get business from. What kind of budget are you working with, and then who are you? And I think I got to come right back to that authenticity, right? Really putting it out there and building up you, because once you find you, then you can find your voice, then you can find your people. And when you find your people, you'll start to get the deals you want. Now you start to bring in the revenue that you want. Now you'll have the opportunity to take a little bit more time to either build up a team and bring somebody on like an admin, bring on somebody else who might be just a buyer representative where you can focus on the business building and maybe with your higher end clients, but you got some people you can work that down to. And that's probably another misconception too, is like, I'm gonna get in, I'm gonna build this big team. Well, you better get you together first with your structure before you can even build your team. One other thing that a lot of times agents and people in general do not think about often is time, right? There's only 24 hours in a day. Most of us put in 25 hours a day, 8 days a week when you're an entrepreneur. That's the life of our business. We always go, go, go. But I am going to say this, is that oftentimes in life, people will gauge themselves based on the income that they made. And in real estate, let's go specific to the GCI they did this year and the number of deals they actually closed, the ends. That's not what your self-worth is about. Do you have a family? Do you spend time with them? Do you do anything for self-development for yourself? What about physical development for yourself, right? What about your own time? And if we're not balancing that, all of a sudden the work-life balance is gone. You're on the teeter-totter that is heavily weighted to the business side. And now we talk about burnout. Now I'm not getting the deals. I've been spending a ton of money. I haven't been managing my time. I don't survive the first few years in real estate.
Yeah.
Whereas the flip side is, and I'll tell everybody, your foundation, like your footings, like if you're gonna build a house, we don't just go put a roof on top of some popsicle sticks. You gotta dig the hole, put the footings, put the foundation. Well, time is basically your footings. It's your foundation. It's what's gonna hold everything up. Once you understand time, then you can look and say, and I gotta tell you now, I had this epiphany a little while ago. Time management, you can't manage time. You can't, I can't, none of us can manage time, because I'll stop my watch right now, guaranteed yours is still ticking, right? So you can't manage time. What you can do though, is you can empower time to manage you. And that's as simple as take 20 minutes tonight to own tomorrow. Go in tonight, start to lay out your entire schedule for all the things you need to do. We call them IPAs, income producing activities. I always actually say to everybody, start with your realistic time. My son's got a hockey game tonight. That's the first thing that goes in the schedule, right? I know I'm gonna read first thing in the morning and review my goals first thing in the morning before social media or email. I'm not letting anybody else in until I'm ready. It's like going to play a sport and never warming up. You can't do that. You've got to warm up to be at your optimal performance. So at the start of the day, it's gonna be go through and write in my journal, or pardon me, review my goals and read my book. then it's going to go about my day because I mapped it out last night. Now I just got to execute. And at the end of the day, write down all the good things that happened in the day, plan again for tomorrow, and let's go back and get at it. Well, at that point, we're a freight train going down the tracks. You're not going to stop us, right? And that's what we try to instill in a lot of the agents that we're working with, that we're coaching, is time is fundamental to success, both in business and personal life.
Yeah, absolutely. And Erwin, like, speaking of time, like, you're not just running a real estate team, you've got other businesses. How have you been able to make that time, not only for your business, but also for your family? Like, you've got kids and all that stuff.
Yeah, I have a lot of gray hair for a reason. So just to give context, I have 3 7-figure businesses. I have an 8-figure real estate portfolio. My kids are 6 and 8 years old. They're the world to me. One of the first things I did when I started as an agent was 6 weeks on the job as an agent, a part-time agent. I hired an assistant, which is unheard of. And so it actually cost me money to be a realtor at that point, because what I had to pay my assistant cost more than what I was bringing in as a business. But I had a full-time job, so as the real estate business got bigger, and then I was able to scale up. I was getting too busy, and then I kept adding people. But yeah, I've always added more people. And then, like, one of the truths about what I do is I have 2 agents on my team who make way more money than I do, right? But I can, for the most part, keep most stuff between 9 to 5, right? I don't have late night. I don't have showings at night. I don't have to do open houses on Sundays, stuff like that. So I have a lot more of my time back, and I have a nanny as well. Yeah. So, but this is a very expensive lifestyle.
Yeah, and tell us about how you systematized everything, because as David said, if you're going to add other agents, like, you need to have systems in place that you can duplicate and replicate. So how did you go about implementing those systems so then you could scale?
Big question. Pretty soon, as soon as I started making money as a real estate agent, I hired a coach, right? One of the top coaches in all of Canada, arguably North America. So then I was getting a lot of best practices on how to run a business. And again, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of the realtors that work for me, they were my clients. So they already saw how we operate. They had a good understanding of my values and how we run this business. And then I kind of cheated. I promoted one of my people to be vice president of my group, to be like a team leader. And then I kind of put him under my coach. So then my coach, my team lead was getting all the best coaching that money could buy. And my assistant is very regimented, so she's like the opposite of me. I have my head in the clouds. She has her hands on everything. So she is kind of like my day-to-day person to make sure everything's running smoothly. And second set of eyes to make sure everything's running smoothly. Clients are good, agents are working properly, and money's coming in. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And David, we've got about 60 seconds left. On that subject of systematizing your business, what kind of goal do you have?
For myself?
For yourself.
Oh, we're look. You know what? For us, we're growing. Just like Erwin said, we've got. I got 2 businesses running. I don't have the 4 businesses necessarily, but both are pushing the 7 figures there, and going very well. For us personally, we're very happy with where we are, but we're not where we're going. And so much the same, it's very much that. It's, how do you run both businesses at the same time and make sure everything's happening? When you got good teams and good help, that's what makes it all work, right? Between the 2 businesses, we got about 18 full-time employees, and they're pumping and making sure we're doing. And, for me, I can look at the schedule and go, okay, time, right? Where do I got to be? So, my assistant went in there today and said, this is your drive time to come out here today. This is the time that you are here today. Here's where you got to be. There's been times I show up to appointments. They go, okay, great. So you're here for, like, I don't know. Let me look at, supposedly I'm supposed to speak to Seth, and you just don't know. But when you've got the right people in place from a system perspective, us whose head are in the clouds, and I say it's like a ping pong ball that's up here at all times, it's just going like this the whole time, you got somebody to catch it. And I think that's a big deal. And I love what you said there, Erwin, about picking somebody up from the beginning. I think oftentimes there's a lot of fear around not doing that because of the cost around it. We don't realize when you find the right person, how much more you really are able to accomplish.
Yeah, it's an asset, not a liability.
It's an investment. Yeah. I mean, it just gives you so much more time.
Yeah,
right?
100%. Well, we'll have to wrap it up there.
100%,
so,
man.
David, Erwin, this
you.
was a blast. Thanks so much for joining us today. And thank you for joining us today on Real Estate Simplified. I'm Seth Ferguson. I'll see you next time.